Your 100% looks different every day. And if you're biased toward taking action, it's really easy to discredit other parts of your life that seem disconnected from your goals or the things that you're trying to change. But what if without those things, you're not giving your 100%? I've got another micropod for you today, and I'm going to explain exactly what I'm talking about. And as always, give you some homework so you can take this information and apply it. So if you're ready, let's dive right in. So 100% looks different every day. When an Olympian is getting a massage, it's part of their 100%. When a business owner takes the weekend for R&R, it's part of their 100%. When a working mum who is working on fat loss gets a chicken kebab on a Saturday night, it's part of her 100%. When a professional musician goes to other people's concerts and listens to them, it's part of their 100%. When someone is committed to working on their mindset every day and they're exhausted so they sleep more, it's part of their 100%. 100% looks different for everyone, and 100% looks different day to day. I think you kind of get where I'm going with this one. So I want to credit one of my clients for inspiring this podcast. And what we were doing is during our coaching call, we were basically doing what I asked you to do in episode 170, which is the one before this, where we were identifying her potholes, the holes in her bucket that were preventing her from getting the results that she wanted. And when I asked her to start listing out the potholes, the first thing that she gave me was the weekend. Like that was it. It was the weekend. And I asked her how specifically. So she said, well, I have a different morning routine. My husband's around, my son's around, I've had a busy week, so I tend to have a bit more of a lie-in, and I'm not journaling, and I'm not meditating, I'm not doing my gratitudes, all the things that I do through the week. So I asked her, why is that a problem? And after a while, she said, well, because I do it Monday to Friday, and I feel like I just let myself down at the weekend. I feel like I just let it all go. And so I asked her another question. I said, well, what if your gratitude and your meditation just looks different at the weekend? And it took a little while to kind of really let that sink in. So I gave her an example. So I said to her, think about the 5-2 diet. Do the 5 days of eating normally undo the 2 days of fasting? No, it's part of the plan, right? The whole plan is that you eat a relatively normal way, say Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday you fast, or, however you do it. So I asked her to think about that. What if the 2 days of rest and relaxation and the full presence for her family and friends as fun is actually part of her 100% commitment? And I asked her how that thought felt. And you could physically see the shift and the relief in her body when she was like, oh, it doesn't have to look like this all of the time. Now, I believe I'm a coach who is really committed to helping you really stop beating yourself up for not having the result that you want yet, for not doing enough, for not doing all of the things. And so I want you to hold this thought, like this isn't part of the homework, but maybe it is. I want you to write down, I want you to engrave this in your head, in your brain. Hold the thought that my 100% will look different day to day. Okay, because now we can just start cutting ourselves some slack, and we can stop beating ourselves up and thinking that every day has to look the same if we're truly committed to the goals that we want to achieve. So just as a really super simple example, if I'm on a rest day when I'm working out, then my 100% looks a lot more like being more lazy. And I say lazy in like how we might define it in society, right? So it's a long dog walk. I'm sort of lounging around more. I'm taking on less food, less carbs, probably having a bit of a nap, doing some stretching and yoga, having a night, having a nice hot bath, all of those kind of things. My workout days, shorter dog walks, 30 to 60 minute workouts, more food. My days just tend to be more intense because I've got the energy to facilitate that. And if you think about it, if you had like an Olympic athlete and they didn't prioritize their rest and their stretching and their nutrition as much as their physical training, they're going to head for injury and burnout, and they're not going to be, a medal winning Olympian. If you think about a business owner or an entrepreneur that doesn't allocate time for his family and his relationships, where will those relationships start to break down? Because at some point they will start to break down. And the other thing that popped into my head was like, imagine if we didn't give any value to the brakes in our car. Like, what if it was all about the accelerator? And then we come to the edge of a cliff and we don't even know how to use the brake because we've never used it before. know that might be a little bit out there, but I just wanted to get this point across, that these 100% looks different every day. Now, whilst I was thinking about this, I went back in time to when I was at college many, many years ago, like decades ago. And I remember doing sociology, and there was a theory about the sum of the parts. So the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And although the analogy that was about like how we look at the human body, and the human body has all these amazing systems working, when they all work together, that's when the magic really happens, right? So the liver's out there doing its thing, but without the support of the gallbladder and without the support of the digestive tract and like it's not going to do its thing very well as a standalone, piece of our body. And the analogy was that society works in the same way. What I want to do is apply that into what we're talking about today in terms of changing your life, living a more rich life, a full life, an experiential life, a mosaic of moment life, hitting our goals and experiencing life at the same time. So I want you to think about that your goals, what you're trying to achieve is going to be so much more fulfilling. It's going to happen more quickly when you think about all the individual parts that need to come together to make the functioning of the whole so much more powerful. Because being a human being, I want you to think about that life is an experience. Your life is made up of a mosaic of moments. And so many of us are not creating these moments. We're experiencing them. Maybe we're not even not, we're unconscious. I don't know. But we have these moments, but we're not going out to create them because we're so connected or thinking about like the goal, the next thing, like, and we're like, how many weeks, months or years is it going to take for us to look back and go, oh, like I actually forgot to live during that period of time? And so the problem is we get overly focused on the one part, the one sort of organ, if you like, and that's the goal part. I must change this thing. I don't want to be here anymore. I must be over here instead. And we get consumed by the achievement or the realization of that one thing. The solution is to bring all of ourselves to each perceived problem, to each goal, to each required change. Bring all of ourselves to the party. Now, when I'm coaching my clients, the process that I take them through to do that is like it's a triangle, and at the top we have the mind and brain, right? Because they're two different things. We work on the mind and the brain. We go to the bottom right hand corner of the triangle, and we've got our body and our energy, because they're two different things too. And then on the left-hand side, we've got the action and the rituals. When we bring all of those things together, we bring all of us to the table, our humanness, our consciousness, our spiritualness, like every single part of us comes to the table, and we create a plan so that we can have good thoughts about what we're doing and where we're going and what we're creating, and we can direct our brain to make sure that we don't get stuck in fear states, and we create the energy and the alignment to keep taking action, and we know exactly what we're working on and how we make that part of who we are. Very powerful process. So we're at the end of the micropod. I just wanted to offer you that if you are somebody who's still beating up on yourself, you have to realize that your 100% looks different every day, and you need to bring all of yourself to all of these things that you're working on, because your life is an experience and it's made of a mosaic of moments that I want you to be creating consciously. So your homework, the first thing I would really suggest that you do, if you haven't done it already, is to go back, listen to episode 170 and find your potholes, find your holes in the bucket, because this will make this next thing easy, because you're going to start to see where you're leaving parts of yourself or where you're leaving systems behind because you're stuck in action. And I want you to, the next part then is to ask yourself, what or where do I need to give more value to or attention to? Do you need to give more time and attention to rest, creativity, curiosity, stretching, learning, relationships, planning, scheduling? Like where do you need to give more time and attention? And the last part, the really important part, is first of all, how will that look? And where will you schedule that in? So if a client says to me, I need more creativity in my life, Louise, like I spend a lot of time in front of the computer, I use my mind, my brain a lot, and I don't create time for creativity. And I say, okay, great, let's work on that. What does that look like? And they draw a blank. So don't just let your brain say, oh, we're going to do more of this and leave it there. Like answer the question yourself. What does that look like? Maybe that creativity is writing a book. Maybe it is cooking. Maybe it is dancing. Maybe it is painting or upcycling. You all know I'm an upcycler, right? So that's my real happy place. What does it look like specifically? And where specifically are you going to schedule that in? So when I get off this call today, part of bringing myself to the party is I'm going to be going off in the next 20 minutes or so. I'm going to go down the lake for a nice early morning swim, right? It's not creativity, but it's like a really emotive thing for me. It's just being outside in nature, being in the lake, feeling that freshness on my face. The water's still only 9 degrees. It's a little bit McChimberly, right? But that's part of what makes me think, yes, as I pursue my goals, as I pursue my changes in life, I'm still living fully. I'm still creating mosaic moments that I can look back and say, yes, I created this tapestry myself. So let me quickly summarize. Number 1, listen to episode 170. Number 2, what and where do you need to give more value and attention to? And number 3, what does it look like and where will you schedule that in? And I would, if I was coaching you, I'd want to be seeing that scheduled in your diary. And I'd want you to be WhatsApping me and saying, I did it. This is what happened. This is where it was. This is what was happening. So if you fancy that level of clarity and that level of accountability, that you can create a life with plentiful mosaic moments as you go about achieving and getting results in anything that you want, you need me as your coach. So I want you to make sure that you go and hit the one of the links around here, get yourself booked in for a free coffee. We'll do a bit of coaching. We'll have a conversation and we'll just see what that looks like for you. Thank you, as always, for being part of this community. And I'll speak to you again in the next episode of the Your Rich Life podcast.